This was 2 in the morning, of course, after closing the bar down. And the big 10-foot tall chain link fence gates open up, and we ride in with the guys, and the chain link fence closes back, and we're just looking at each other like, man, are we going to get out of here alive? You know, if they ever figure out who we are, we're dead, man.
Yeah.
At Sticky Situations, we intend to blur the line between the law and crime. Follow us as we delve into stories on both sides. Content may be disturbing to some. Viewer discretion is advised.
How we doing, folks? It's Sticky here with Sticky Situations. Throughout our episodes, you're going to be hearing stuff from outlaw bikers to law enforcement. We're trying to catch both sides of the good and the bad on both sides of everything. With me today, I have my co-host,
Kim. Same person as last time.
Same person, different channel?
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. And across the table from me, I have Howard Levinson. Howard, how are you doing?
Doing well today, despite the weather.
Yeah, despite the weather.
Yeah,
it's never a good time. So Howard, if you don't mind, give us a little background on what all you've done here.
Well, that's a holy shit, isn't it?
It is.
All right. Well, I mean, it kind of all started actually here in Columbia.
Yeah.
Because I came up here to go to college, and I ended up getting in a band and dropping out and playing music. And then I went and became an EMT at MU's Health Center, and then I became a paramedic. And I worked as a paramedic at St. Mary's in Jeff City for several years, and then moved back to St. Louis and was a paramedic firefighter for a few years. And I saw my fair share of, blood and guts and gun and knife club stuff. And I was working in a bad neighborhood in St. Louis, and became friends with a bunch of cops. And I thought, maybe it'd be more interesting being the person that's there when the shit hits the fan than being the person that shows up to swab up the blood. So I became a cop, and I did about 25 plus years in law enforcement, and it spread across from patrol to I ended up being working undercover, and then I ended up being a detective in the major case homicide squad, and so that lasted 20 some odd years, and then I transitioned out of that and became an investigator in corporate America for healthcare fraud.
Okay.
And of course, along the lines, as you know, I've always been playing guitar.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of shit going on at one time, which is, if you want something done, give it to a busy man,
Yes.
And, I've been a busy man, and still busy man, because I'm still playing music, although I am totally out of doing anything in crime fighting or enforcement. I'm a live and let live guy now,
Don't want to do that anymore.
No.
No. I get it. Now, you were FBI, is that correct? Or
I was a cop, but I was assigned to different task forces. So when you get assigned, you get deputized. So I was deputized FBI, deputized DEA, deputized somebody not postal, somebody else. But anyway, and when I worked those cases, when you're deputized, it becomes an organized crime drug enforcement task force case. So during that time, I was when we were working the case, I was just like a federal agent. But when I was not working the case, I would be at my department, either working my own cases or whatever.
Yeah. Now, you're also an author, is that correct?
Yeah, I've written, you're right what you know. So I have written books about murder and forensics, and then I've written a book about aliens and stuff like that. And then my last book, which I do want to give you a copy of right here.
All right.
Self-promoting. But this is for you.
Thank you.
Because of the community work you do and your service as a veteran.
Yeah.
And this is the last one I've written a few years ago, and it was spawned by, if you'll recall, there was all these diplomats and people in Cuba that were getting sick, and they said it was electromagnetic waves. And so I thought, what if somebody actually was able to weaponize electromagnetic forces? And what better way to weaponize sound and electromagnetic forces than through music? So my main characters are in the book a couple rock musicians and then a band, and somehow or another they get in some trouble and they have to work for the government, and they end up playing music, and the cell phones are all tapped, and it's a big government conspiracy. And unfortunately, it's become all too true. So
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, when you're listening to the songs, does it change your brainwave pattern, or are you going to think different? Is something going to happen? Is somebody able to control that? And so that's what happened in the book.
Okay.
And I wrote it probably 5 years ago, and over the last 5 years, as our privacy has been demolished and the government has intruded in everything, I think it's becoming more true.
Yeah. I've read a couple of your books as well.
I appreciate
the
that.
Taping.
Tapping.
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 See, I was close. It's,
Tapping.
it's just a 1 P difference.
There you go. True.
One P.
1 P.
Sticky can spell, y'all.
Yeah, some days. Yeah, but no, I read that book actually just recently. I had read through it. I'd read through it about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But we were snowed in. We had. I was tired of TV. I was tired of YouTube.
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
tired of pretty much anything. Just bored. And so I was like, look, I'm going to read. I want to go back to old school roots. And so I sat down with his book and read it. And that's whenever I mentioned it as well, when I did online.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. I was like, hey, this is going to be a shameless plug here for him, but let's get it done.
Yeah,
Why
that
not?
was a hard book to write.
Yeah, I can imagine. So with your time with law enforcement, can you give us any stories, anything that happened that's probably anything that most people don't hear about?
Well, let me start with a couple of things. I guess, first of all, I would say that, in my time in regular law enforcement, working with the guys that just work cases and are on your streets protecting you, they're pretty good guys. I mean, despite all the stuff with the defund the police and all that stuff that was out, most all the working guys are pretty good guys. Just like in any profession, there's some assholes, but most are just trying to do a job and then go home at the end of the day. In the cases I worked in regular law enforcement, like assigned to a homicide squad or something like that, it was just a matter of, like you've seen on TV, a crime happens. There's the places inundated with cops and detectives, and you just work cases and follow clues. And the more people you have working, the better chance you have of solving it. The tapping book actually was written after an extensive cold case review, cold case investigation that I was on of a 7-year-old child that was brutally murdered. First she was shot, then hatcheted in the head with a machete. And, I saw the autopsy photos and I said, man, this is a bad one. And the person the initial investigators who worked it kind of wanted to clean it up real quick, and so they pinned it on somebody, probably not the perpetrator. And so we identified the perpetrator and did all the work we could to get them prosecuted to the max, and I wasn't really satisfied with the outcome of the case. And because it was just an awful murder of this child, and I still can close my eyes and see her.
Oh, yeah.
I started writing this book, and I fictionalized the account of this cold case investigation that we did. It was pretty prolonged and brought in profilers from the FBI and everything. And I solved it in the book better than we solved it in real life. So I got a little closure. On that one.
There you go. Was that St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis. Roughly 80s?
The murder was in 98.
98?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I picked up the cold case in 2000 or 2001, and we worked it for several years, Yeah. But yeah, it's an old one. But memories don't, as you know, being in the military, you close your eyes and see shit.
Oh, unfortunately.
You can't unsee that stuff.
No, unfortunately. Yeah. There's times you wish you could, but
There's times you wish you could. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we had heard, rumor, I guess, say that you infiltrated biker clubs too.
Well, we did do a little bit of that. I mean, I've been riding with the same guys, and almost all of us are cops. And at one time or another, we had FBI agent and a lot of high patrol guys and local law enforcement. And, we had our own little biker club. I guess we were bad to the bone, too, as bad to the bone as a bunch of cops can be.
Yeah.
But, when we were riding This goes back in the 90s, and we're still, some of us still ride today, but back then almost all of us were in an undercover capacity, so we all looked like biker trash.
Yeah.
Kind of like now. I mean, I'm kind of looking like that now still.
Got the long hair, the tattoo.
Long hair, the tattoo,
Yeah.
and so we're riding up to a guy's wedding, and we stumble across a strip bar. Shocking, bikers would go in a strip bar.
No, same.
And
Never happened.
because there was a group of us, these other group of bikers befriended us because figured, hey, it's just biker guys, and who would ever think these, guys that look like us are cops? So we befriended them, and it turns out that they were members of 1% motorcycle gang. This is in another state.
Okay.
This ain't Missouri.
Yeah. So it happened to be out west a little bit?
Well, this actually was up north.
Okay.
We were heading west, but we went up north.
Yeah.
So they invited us back to their clubhouse, and we partied with them, and did the bro thing. Hey, good to see you. And then we left, and it was a great thing. And while we were there, as investigators, we're taking note of who's there, and we, the guys had their patches. I'm not going to mention the biker club.
No.
Their patches and where they were at, and some guys had the thing that said president on their jacket, and we were able to develop an intelligence report that said basically, these guys are, really bad to the bone guys. And so we went back and wrote up a report on that. FBI got interested, went back again, got invited to another clubhouse, and this is the one where just a few of us went back, and we went to this clubhouse where this was 2 a.m, of course, after closing the bar down. And the big 10-foot tall chain link fence gates open up, and we ride in with the guys, and the chain link fence closes back, and we're just looking at each other like, man, are we going to get out of here alive? If they ever figure out who we are, we're dead, man.
Yeah.
So we gathered more intel, wrote up another report, and we actually helped them identify some guys in biker clubs that killed people, and so it was a pretty good case. It was pucker factor 10.
Yeah, 100%.
But that was just one of the things that serendipitously we stumbled into that.
Yeah.
Boy, it sounds like you've lived an interesting life. But one thing I do want to know is, for anyone who's curious, how wrong does the media and movies have it when it comes to law enforcement and what you actually do? Or
well, I mean, it's certainly slanted. There's certainly a slant. Because there's still a lot of feeling because of everything that's happened since Ferguson. And so I'm intimately involved in that particular incident because at the time, this is 2000, when was it? 4? I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. No longer. It's sooner than that. I lived 2 miles from where Michael Brown got killed.
Yeah.
And I actually, I would ride my bike down there, my bicycle, just working out, and I'd go by and I'd see the gas station that was burnt to the ground, the people protesting and fuck the police and stuff like that. And it really was a bad situation where the community where most of these good, hard-working black folks lived got burnt.
Yeah.
And so, and there was the same incident with the George Floyd thing, to where, who were the victims in that case? Well, the cop was a shithead, certainly. I mean, nobody needles on anybody's neck for that long. What the hell? I mean, it was good that he got prosecuted because he's an idiot. Yeah. But that doesn't represent the majority of cops.
No.
But once again, who were the victims in that thing? The whole community that got burnt down, and the 20 people that got killed, and all the property and stores and stuff that were just burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
So, there are still cops that are complete asswipes, but they're a minority. And anymore, you really, I think the screening to go into police work now is more stringent than it was when I went. When I went, you had to take polygraph, and they did a Minnesota multiphasic or some kind of questionnaire about your personality, and if you weren't a psychopath, you passed and you got in. I think they're a little bit more choosy now.
Fairly about like when you join the military.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
Yeah, they want to make sure you're just not crazy.
Touching on psychology, the mind, how did you cope with the things that you had to do and see over your long period of time in law enforcement?
Great question.
Yeah.
I think most of us that see a lot of stuff, like we mentioned, you just can't unsee, compartmentalize in your brain. You just tuck it away. I try to say I don't have any PTSD because I don't wake up in the middle of the night screaming, but my family knows I'm pretty messed up. they know that my personality is probably a lot different than most people just because of what we've seen and done. Yeah. But compartmentalizing and trying to say, and nothing I can do about those memories. I got to live more in the future and the present.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like 50 First Dates, if you've ever seen the movie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like right now, and that's why I'm hoping I can remember stuff.
Yeah.
Because if my memory is not that great, and I don't know if that's part of the protective mechanism of compartmentalizing, where I don't even remember that case, because I'll talk with some of my guys I work with, and they'll say, "Hey, man, remember when we did this and that guy did this?" And I said, "Shit, no, I don't remember that. What? Then this and this," and they gave me all the details. Oh, yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool thing I did. It's like, well, I didn't even fucking remember it.
Didn't remember it at all.
Not at all.
No. No, you're going back, not every cop's a bad cop, not all of them are good, and vice versa. One question I ask law enforcement and former law enforcement is, if you were to tell me what's the number one thing that gets a good cop killed?
Probably inattention.
Inattention?
Yeah.
The main thing that I've always said is it's bad cops. Bad cops get good cops killed. Because let's just break that down for a second here. Let's just say you were pulled over by somebody earlier in the day, and cop was an asshole to you. Let's say that he was a straight asshole to you, and he treated you very badly, and so a week goes by and everything's fine. You haven't heard anything else. Well, then good cop pulls you over, and he's not trying to be. He's being very polite and everything, but you're going to take out what happened before on him. You're gonna judge. Basically on what happens on there. So, and I've seen it over and over with different interviews that I've done and on different things. It's bad cops get good cops killed all the time because, they'll take it out on them. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a factor. A factor because you never know, what's in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
The cop that got killed in Herman, I think that was one of those instances where the guy was just wound up so tight and he was ready to take his anger out on anybody, and these two cops approached him. I think he had a warrant or something, and he had a gun and he shot one.
Yeah.
And just tragic. But a lot of the things, I mean, there certainly is that, and there's certainly people that just want to kill cops,
True.
But, nowadays, with so much going on, competing with your attention, a cop has so many things going on at one time when he pulls somebody over or responds to a call that sometimes little things don't trigger, and I think it was easier back in the day to pick up on danger signs of, nonverbal communication and even speech patterns. That's a little bit more challenging now. In law enforcement now, it's so much more difficult than it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Because no one has respect for the police anymore.
No.
I mean, back in the day, the people were more respectful to police because they hadn't been brought up to not respect the police, and police had not done all the stupid shit that some police have done over the years.
The bad cops.
Yeah, the bad cops.
Yeah.
So it's infinitely a more difficult job now. And I think that's why so many departments are so undermanned right now. I don't know how many Columbia is down, but they're down a bunch.
We have been down, I think, in Columbia for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I think they've even tried to switch around how they hire new cops, and just seems like not much is working right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to take a government job like that with even the pay is much better now than it has ever been for a lot of places. I don't know about sheriff's departments, not so much, maybe. Some sheriff's departments make good money, but some don't. Like the really rural ones are still getting low pay.
Yeah.
But, Columbia's probably a good paid department. Wentzville, all those, they're good paying departments, but I mean, if you can go get a job that's making $20,000 more working in a computer lab or something, and you don't have to carry a gun and get shot at or whatever, who's going to choose that career?
Yeah.
You have to be able to. You have to want to serve the public, and it's like the military. Some people say it's a profession. Some say it's a calling.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So.
It wasn't something that I wanted to do for life, but it was definitely a calling for sure. At the time.
Yep.
Yeah. So, to kind of go back a little bit to your time with being EMS and everything like that, what's probably one of the biggest stories that stand out in your mind?
EMS wise?
Yeah.
Like trauma or something?
Yeah.
I will tell you, this is not a blood and gut story, but I will tell you a story that is one of those things I can't get out of my head.
Yeah.
So I'm working on the ambulance, and the call goes out early in the morning for a kid hitting on his bike, and bring him in, do the thing, whatever. You know how kids get hit while they're riding their bicycle, and he was 9, I think. He was dead, internal trauma. And so my job, I had to take him down to the morgue and, get him situated on the table. And then I came back up and they said, you have to escort the father down there to identify his son.
Mm.
So, and I'm a father, right? So, and at that time I was a recent father. And so I'm taking this father down there, and the guy, it's pretty detailed because I still remember, I can see the guy. Anyway, so I take the guy down to the morgue, and he had while he was getting a haircut, his son was being killed on a bicycle.
Oh.
So, the kid's got a sheet up to here, and the kid's face is fine. He was just run over him, And so he takes out the comb. Back in the day, you'd get a comb from the barber when you got a haircut. And he combs his son's hair, and he's crying and stuff. And, that's kind of like my worst story of EMS, because then I had to go back up with him. And, it just gives me the shivers right now thinking
I can definitely see why being a father too,
Yeah. But, I mean, the other thing, so many shootings and
Oh, yeah.
so many shootings and stabbings. And, and I worked on an ambulance in a really bad area in St. Louis County area. And we'd roll up first before the cops got there, And so we'd be wearing vests, and just kind of getting close enough. And we'd have to wait for the cops because, we didn't want to get in and get shot. But I've rolled in and, the gun's still there, and the guy's gasping for breath.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy times.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You guys would have to learn to secure the gun to get it away from everything, and
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with the stories that you've told already to us with the law enforcement side of things, is there another one that stands out real big?
Well, one of the narcotics cases that I worked was I worked several organized crime drug cases with DEA and ATF. One was a pretty cool one where I was undercover. I was buying heroin from this guy, and it's hard to be a heroin junkie and not shoot up when you're with somebody. So my scam was, I always say, when they say do some, I say, listen, I'm taking it back for somebody. It's not my money, or I just got to go take a P test tomorrow or something. So I was able to scam my way into being a junkie with these heroin guys, and I bought more and more quantity and met more and more people and got trusted more, and finally met some Mexicans. And it turned into a Mexican cartel heroin ring. And so, it ended up being a pretty large case of a major supplier of heroin coming into Chicago, making its way down to St. Louis. So it was a pretty good case. I got a plaque for it.
You got a plaque out of that, huh? Yeah. Now you talking, you had to find excuses, not to do the heroin or anything like that. Anything that you had to actually do drug-wise? No. You were able to always...
Because we got drug tested all the time, or hair tested or something.
Yeah.
And we couldn't come up positive.
No.
So, I mean, and most of the time, and with narcotics cases, it ain't about anything but the money.
Yeah.
If you got the green, you're going to probably get the dope, unless they're super paranoid.
Yeah.
And if you build trust over time with the bad guys. I mean, I was working a case, just a regular little shithead cocaine dealer. I think I was buying, 8 balls and maybe ounces from him. He invited me to his wedding, It's like, because, you build up trust, and I felt bad, you're probably not going to get married, but...
Yeah, you're not going to make it.
Not going to get married this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just about the money.
All right, so you had talked about, drug cases. Any one story out of the drug case that really sticks out?
Well, there's a pretty interesting one. We were working, just buying some cocaine, and ended up climbing up the ladder and buying significant amounts. And it turned into one of those organized crime drug enforcement cases. And it turns out that one of the couriers of the drugs, and this is another one that went on into Mexico, was a retired cop.
Oh, shit.
And he had a pickup truck where you lifted up the bed off the truck, and then all the cocaine kilos were stacked in between the frame, and then you lift the bed back down, and he'd cross the border. Mm-hmm. And so, we were able to identify the target in Mexico, and it was one of the only cases where I actually got to go to Mexico and kick in a door.
That'd be neat.
So, and the perp, the person who was supplying the cocaine out of Mexico to come into a little past Tijuana and then into Texas and then up into St. Louis, it was a person who owned a big old horse ranch, an old person. I mean, you would never suspect them as being part of a cocaine organization. But I got to fly on a plane with a gun, being a federal agent. We flew in a gun, flew into, Texas, crossed the border into Mexico, kicked in a big old mansion on a ranch with horses going around, and arrested them, and then came back to St. Louis, got another plaque.
Yeah, got another plaque.
Got another plaque.
Got another plaque. Yeah.
But it was a fun case to where it actually went from it was a textbook where it started off with meeting somebody that how the cases went was, let's say a local policeman pulls over somebody or arrests somebody with an 8 ball of cocaine, 1/8 ounce of cocaine. And that person says, I can't go to jail, but I know somebody who's selling ounces. Mm-hmm. Well, let me introduce my buddy, me, to that guy, and I buy an ounce, and I need a little bit more, so let me buy a half kilo. Oh, I can get it from the supplier in Mexico, and then we ended up going across the border.
Going to Mexico.
Yeah, so we stopped that dealer, but it's like, sticking your finger in the dike. Does it really make a difference? Do we really have a war on drugs? Are we doing anything?
Yeah. What's your take on the war on drugs? Is that?
It's just, you got people are doing the best they can, but it's as long as there's a demand.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's going to go with legalization. I really don't see any big problems, like everybody's, oh man, when weed's legal, everybody's gonna be drunk and stuff, or it's gonna be. I really haven't seen the crime's gonna increase. I haven't seen any of that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to go down that slippery slope now and think about, well, let's legalize coke or meth or heroin? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that would be a bad idea.
So that kind of goes back to a little bit of my time in the military. I visited Amsterdam, and they have vending machines where you can get needles, clean needles and everything through. It's not legal, but it's kind of frowned upon, but they don't do anything about it. If you could be on they have sections of the city.
I think they decriminalized.
Yeah, they have sections of the city where you can go shoot up, go do whatever you want to do like that. Now, marijuana legal anywhere in that town. I mean, that's where I was introduced to the nickname Sticky. But you know, but yeah, that's a whole new ball game there. But I, they said crime's low there in that area. I don't know though if I don't think it would work in the U.S. that way because it'd be a lawless area, and I mean,
Yeah, I don't. The demand is going to stop, and now with the fentanyl crisis
Yeah.
and people dying from that, to open up the doors to anything, I don't know. I think would be a problem.
was fentanyl a thing yet? Whenever you had no.
No,
No, that came about what in the last 10 years probably.
yeah.
And it's gotten really bad here in Colombia.
Yeah.
I have had to call in so many ODs.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, there's that Narcan program that might help some, but still, you
they're
never
getting-
know.
They're getting a lot of the college students because, typically it's laced or mixed. Oh, they've crushed the pills and mixed the Xanax in with the fentanyl, and they're thinking, oh, I'm taking only this much, and then all of a sudden they've OD'd because the measurement of the fentanyl.
And and I worked a case of a heroin overdose of a college kid, as a detective, and he had gotten some heroin from some folks, and they were all partying one day, and he got really high and unresponsive, so his friends threw him in the shower, turned the water on, and left. He overdosed and died.
Yeah.
And they should have called 911, but they were afraid they'd get arrested or whatever. So, that was pretty tragic, but there's so much more of that now with fentanyl.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a student at one of the student living properties downtown who at one point had gone unresponsive because of mixing, or taking drugs laced with fentanyl. And another one who was having difficulty, no one wanted to call, but it just took one person. I could have gone there, and instead of seeing people leaving to be saved in an ambulance, I could have been dealing with 2 deceased children, basically, It's just getting really bad.
Yeah, I don't know where we are. I know this was 20 plus years ago. My partner and I from the Bureau, we went and testified in front of the senators here in Jeff City about we need to have a statute to prosecute people that don't call the police when somebody overdoses.
Yeah.
And I think that some kind of law has been passed where you can prosecute a dealer or somebody like that that supplied the drugs. But I think there's a law about that now.
I think I've seen something on that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a good thing because let's be responsible drug dealers at least.
I mean, at least be responsible about it.
At least just sell this one drug that you shouldn't be selling instead of these lace things over here.
Yeah, the lace things is what's getting everybody.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Where would you say is the number one spot that drugs are coming out of?
Well, probably the border. Yeah, southern border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same answer we've got from a lot of people. They all believe the same thing too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some coming in from the northern border too, but when the border got wide open, anything could come across, and it did.
And it did, very much so. That's kind of when our fentanyl crisis started.
It blew up, yeah.
So hopefully things will change in the next year or two, and there'll be more stringent enforcement of the border. But as I wrote in my Unseen Forces book, my distrust of the government is pretty high on the meter.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine.
So I'm not. You just don't know.
No,
you just don't know whether who will do the right thing and when. But we have to do something. So the question is, what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't trust our government worth a shit personally, but
read my book.
Yeah, you need to read this one. Yeah. I'm going to read it first. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. But I just keep thinking about the fact that I just lost my entire train of thanks, Sticky.
I'm good at that.
Doing what we're doing, doing what I've been doing since the last 40 years where it was a just say no and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. No, and the DARE program
Yeah.
has never.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. It's like it was not trusting government. It's because of the insanity it shows, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If the war on drugs is not working the way we're doing it, change it.
Yeah.
And the only way to change it is you're going to have to somehow reduce the demand. And how are you going to ever reduce the demand from somebody that wants to get away from the pain that they're experiencing now, or the life that they're experiencing now, or whatever's missing in their life that they're filling with the drug?
Yeah.
How are you going to reduce that demand, especially now, as fucked up
Yeah.
as the world is now?
It's insane.
Health crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's
I mean,
insane anymore. Within the last 5 years, I've seen the world just go, what the hell?
well, it is. Everything is a what the hell.
Yeah.
It is. Look at California. It's
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
Hawaii, it was on fire.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's not natural disasters that I'm talking about. It's just like, and people just don't have respect for one another, and everybody's at their throats, and like Mark Zuckerberg came out last week and said, well, we've decided not to like edit out opinions we don't agree with.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we're going to start we're going to start not censoring people's
And no,
free speech.
and no more
Yeah.
fact checking.
Yeah.
And that,
So what that means is before,
Yeah.
all this time we've been canceling free speech and getting rid of opinions that we don't agree with.
We knew that. I was in jail several times on Facebook
Yeah.
because of the same thing, because of free speech and
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you? I mean, how do you fix a world that's like that?
yeah.
You know.
well, unfortunately, I feel that with our country, they're feeding off the fact that the people they're mad and they need something to focus on, so they focus us, distract us. But number two, I don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah.
But getting back to
Yeah.
I think the answer to the question of almost all of this stuff is that, and I don't want to get too spiritual here, but I'm a believer in God, and I think that really that we have moved away from a higher moral order into a lower chaos, to where we are no longer living according to how we were supposed to live.
I think I see, at least societally here in America, we are very much practicing and exercising our rights, but we're doing it in a way that is like, just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
And we
That's a great
are
bumper
tearing.
sticker. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think that's adding to the problem, just our own sense of entitlement. Just because I can, I'm gonna.
Well, my always biggest thing is, if you don't use your rights, the government can see that you're not using it, and may be able to take them away from you.
Oh, and I absolutely agree with exercising, our rights, but there's a responsibility that comes
Sure.
with having those at
Well,
the
we
same
do.
time.
Me and you both do First Amendment audits. Mm-hmm. It's a touchy subject sometimes.
No, it
We've
is.
We've seen it. Some auditors come in and are complete pricks. We go in completely polite. Don't back down because
No.
we know our rights, and just go from there.
And I mean, sometimes, it's not like an act when I go in and I will sit there and look at all the historical paintings. And even if someone's tried to act ugly towards us, I will actually try to engage them in a conversation. Like, how is this going to go? I don't need to be an asshole to you.
Had the law called multiple times.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if you're not a sociopath and you do have a conscience, which means you do know bad from good, and if you have that built into you and you're able to follow the golden rule, if we all follow the golden rule and had a conscience, the world would be much better.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we wouldn't have to worry about people saying, well, these are socialist policies, or we're just letting healthcare go. It would actually people being there for each other again. I think one of the biggest things we've lost in our nation, and that I think going back to crime adds to the situation, is the fact that we have no sense of community, of tribes, and no sense, therefore, of pride in those things. So at that point, yeah, what do you believe in? What are you holding sacred? And does that mean you'll do just about anything?
And I'll tag on to that in that I think we do have tribes, but we don't recognize that we're all one tribe. Right now, so I'm in this tribe, and if you're not in this tribe, I'm against you.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
But we don't all recognize that it's humanity, and we're all in God's image, you know.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting a lot spiritual here. The last few songs I've been writing have been more spiritually based, you know, so I'm kind of leaning that way. I think it's because I'm getting older, you know.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
I have some other questions for you, actually. A little bit, I guess, off some of the topics we've covered. But during the time that before you retired, and I guess even now, have you worried about any enemies coming after you or your loved ones, or being unfortunately recognized by somebody because you'd gone undercover and just happened to cross paths?
Yeah, I worry about it, but it's been so long ago that I think the chances of an encounter like that are pretty minimal. Let's hope anyway.
Yeah.
But I know one case. I was working, a heroin dealer. He lived within like 300 yards of me.
Oh, wow.
And so one summer when I was working this, getting heroin for this guy, and it was a federal case, I couldn't cut my lawn. I couldn't go out in the yard and cut the grass. So,
yeah, because he'd recognize you.
Because if he was driving by in his car, he'd see me. So that was kind of a scary one. But, he went to prison. So when he went away, I could cut the grass again.
Yeah. I got about this tall. And
the city was saying, we're going to fine you if you don't cut your grass. Oh,
yeah, that's crazy, though. That makes sense. So I've always wondered that, though, if you ever had to worry about, repercussions.
Yeah, back then I did. I worried a lot. But now, so many years later, I don't worry so much because hopefully maybe the bad guys found Jesus in prison, or maybe they're still in prison, or maybe they died. So I got those three things going for me.
Yeah, you got better odds of going for you than against it. Yeah, really you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's not call that dog.
No.
Mm-mm. No way. Well, what was actually the thing that said, okay, it's time to move on. I've lived this life. I've done all these things. I'm retiring.
Yeah.
Age is one thing.
Yeah.
And at the time...
How old were you when you retired?
Well, from the police department, let's see, that was 2004. So I'm trying to do the math. I was young.
Yeah.
It was 20 years ago, so I was 51.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I did 15 years in corporate investigation, so then I was 66.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I picked up the government check, And at the time, I was doing a lot of music stuff, so I was like, do I really want to keep on working this job? Corporate America was a great paying job, more money than I ever made in federal or just regular law enforcement. But, I could have kept on working. It was an easy job, and I was doing music on the side, but I was doing more and more gigs and stuff, and I was saying, I could probably do, more music stuff, have more fun, survive on my government check, and just move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you find that amongst other law enforcement individuals that you're an outlier with such other huge talents, in music and everything, and you really want to pursue that? Or do you find that other individuals are focused mainly on just law enforcement?
It's a mixed bag. I mean, there are some there is a lot of cops that I know that had a lot of other stuff going on. Some were musicians, some were carpenters, some had all kinds of side jobs doing stuff that they were really into. Some were writers, I know a couple guys that were authors, got some books out. So yeah, but there are other folks that, no, I don't want to do it. This is I'm calling, this is my thing, this is all I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for some, just like the rest of the population, other demographics, it was not all encompassing.
Right.
For most people.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've met quite a few in the law enforcement community that have quite a few different things that they've kind of fallen back on, or kind of still do. A lot of musicians are cops. I've seen that a lot. I don't know what it is.
I actually know a few.
I don't know what it is, but I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that's my accountant is a biker.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Certainly he sits at a computer and does all this,
Yeah.
magical stuff with numbers and stuff. But then on weekends, he's got a black leather jacket, ponytail, and he's riding.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Everybody's
Yeah,
got
I
something.
just kind of always wondered that because a lot of the people that I've known in my adulthood and grew up knowing in childhood who've worked law enforcement and military, after they were done with that part of their lives, I saw so much that they were interested in otherwise, but they just seemed to live, eat, sleep, breathe, either law enforcement or military, just so focused on that.
It's an all-encompassing thing. And I'll be the first to admit, and so will my family, that the 5 years that I was undercover, I was not me.
No.
And I should have been. I mean, when I came home, I should have been me. But it's very hard to divorce between, and a bad word to use.
Yeah. Differentiate.
Very, very hard to differentiate, turn it off when you come home. Same way with cops who work really bad stuff all the time. If you're working in a crime-ridden area, like here in Columbia, these guys are probably seeing shootings every day.
Yeah.
And when you see dead people every day and you're involved in homicides every day and murders, and you come home, it's hard to turn that that bad vibe off, and all of a sudden, let's go to Billy's baseball game and clap for when he hits a home run or something. You're still that guy inside that, and it is all encompassing for some. I've known some people that are able to turn it off like that. Yeah. Guys I work with in undercover, some guys were able to turn it off like that, and they're good, home, just like normal person, everyday guy, like an insurance salesman or something like that. Come home, love the wife, love the kids, be nice, don't say motherfucker all the time.
Yeah.
Might have to bleep that out, whatever. Whatever. But I mean, but it was difficult for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you found in your career that just that sense of loss of a moral compass has definitely been a factor in some of the situations you've had to help resolve? Not just because bad people happen, but as to the degree that it's a reflection of just the world we're living in.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've lost your moral compass and you really don't have a lane to stay on, you could go anywhere because you don't really know where should I be. And it's, when that happens, that's when the shit hits the fan and people do bad stuff to each other.
Yeah.
If you don't have that still small voice in your head, not to plug the song of mine I wrote called Still Small Voice. Yeah. If you don't have that still small voice in your head telling you, it's the intuitive voice that says, don't go down that path. Mm-hmm. Go here, do this, or don't say that, say this, or even simple like, don't eat that, you dumb shit. Eat this,
Oh my gosh, please, no. That hurts my brain.
We have those things that are going in our head all the time. And if we listen to their voice, if we're not a sociopath and we do have a conscience and we do listen to that voice, we'll be better people.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well,
So that, one thing that I know you want to wrap it up, but one thing I do want to say is I really have enjoyed talking to you and hearing your point of view and your experiences. And what I find absolutely amazing is even in the midst of you having to see, experience, deal with, get close to some of the darker people and experiences in this life, I can tell you still see the beauty in it. and the mystery, and that there's so much more to experience and see than we can even grasp right now.
And I will confess to you, that's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting much better at that. But I have to say I was not for a long time. For a long time, I was not. And and I still fall back into negativity and stuff, and
Well, the shit you've seen and done, you kind of,
Well,
it's not, it makes sense.
It's not like you can hit delete or something and just erase it.
yeah,
It's
I've got
there.
a saint for a wife that
Yeah.
she has put up with me all these years and is one that will say, really? You're going to say that? You're going to think that? No. Remember?
Yeah.
You're the good guy now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah,
So having that support's helped you too. Then.
yeah, it's a work in progress for sure.
And you were married to your wife.
Yeah, I was married to one gal first when I was young for 7 years, and then I've been married now 42.
So she's been through a lot
Nice.
Oh, yeah, all of it. Yeah, she's been through all.
So you've had steady support.
Yeah, I wrote her a song called "I'm a Sinner, You're a Saint."
Yes. Yes, and I remember that song. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's right. Well, Howard, definitely appreciate you
Thank
coming
you
on.
so
It
much.
has been lovely talking to both of you.
Yes,
It's-
definitely.
See different sides of us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I really
this.
enjoy this. You guys are great.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, hopefully we can have you back again.
Oh,
I want to hear some more stories.
I love it.
For sure.
Yeah, I got some more.
Oh, I'm sure we do. All right,
Great.
folks. See you soon.